Woohoo! All right, guys. Sunday, December 31st at 10:37 a.m. from Maui, Hawaii. And we're here live with the TN Transits. Currently, we are in gate 38.1 and 39.1, which this is our Gregorian calendar's new year, which gate 38 is opposition. It's the fighter. It's the ability to preserve individual integrity through opposition to detrimental forces. This is in the root headed up to the spleen. And then we have gate 39, which is obstruction, which is in the root headed up towards the solar plexus. Provocation, the value of obstruction in provoking analysis, assessment, and reevaluation. So these are the individual circuits within the root center. Something interesting about the root that I've been thinking about a lot lately is when I think of pressure, the thing that comes to mind most often is water pressure, right? Like if you put your thumb over the hose, you can't actually stop the pressure because the pressure is stronger than you. And so it comes out sideways. And when we're looking at root pressure, what often I'm looking at is directing root pressure, which if you have the defined root, typically it's much easier to direct the root pressure. You know which activities are going to help you relieve the root pressure in yourself. If you have the undefined root or the open root, it's more challenging because there are many possibilities that could help relieve the pressure. However, finding the one that's correct for you is going to take extra steps. We'll just say that. And so with this new year, it's really interesting that we have the fighter and obstruction in our transits because 90% of at least Americans, 90% of Americans don't follow through on their New Year's resolutions. And I would imagine that the numbers probably similar, but I also imagine people around the world, and let me know if you're around the world, do you set New Year's resolutions the same way Americans do? And maybe you don't know how Americans do it, so I'll tell you. We make big announcements on social media. I'm generalizing, of course, for the majority of Americans. Make big announcements on social media as I'm going to the gym, new year, new me. There's a whole hashtag for it. And according to statistics, 90% of people do not actually follow through on their New Year's resolution. One of my theories is because of this transit. Like, this is not necessarily a good time to be setting goals as much as it is reevaluating and understanding why and what goals we actually have to set. And so in human design, the new year is actually when the sun enters in gate 41, because gate 41, the I Ching gate 41 hexagram is the start-stop codon for our genetic sequence. And so it makes more sense that way. There's other cultures naturally that their New Year starts in the spring or in the fall equinox or the first new moon of spring. Different cultures, again, that started the cycle at different points because it served a cultural significance. And our New Year serves a economic influence or an economic essence. Again, it's where businesses and governments have agreed that, okay, this is when the cycle begins. And whether to their awareness or not, starting a resolution or starting a beginning with opposition and obstruction is January 22nd, correct, Indian? It's not cruel. It's like how you say, it's just off of balance just a little bit, because we're still it's prematurely setting goals before you understand what goals are worth setting. That would be 38 telling you that. And then what obstacles are in your way that are going to ask you to reassess what those goals are. And so 38.1, let's just go ahead and read it. It's line 1 is qualification. Tempering opposition based on the circumstances. A psychic attunement that guarantees proper action. The psychic gift of knowing when and how to fight. Detriment is the tendency to oppose as a general rule. The drive to fight as a general rule. So here, in this first line, we're exploring which fights are worth fighting for, right? Tempering opposition based on circumstances. And in the sense that depending on the circumstance, that is going to determine whether or not you fight, as opposed to just having the general rule of fighting things for the sake of fighting things, right? It's an actual psychic attunement, and it's an taking advantage of your own openness in order to discover like when to turn this pressure on. Because again, with root pressure, it's like it like builds up. Like you blow up a balloon, that's air pressure. You fill up a water balloon, that's water pressure. You fill up hydraulic pressure with hydraulic fluid, that's hydraulic pressure. And so the pressure is meant to expand, but it's also meant to decrease. And so, for instance, there's some of us out there that are going to learn how to bolster the detriment, how to, in general, have more resistance towards the circumstances, right? Have more of a fight in you in general. That's how you harmonize your system. For other people, it's going to be, hey, know when and how to fight. Maybe you're fighting a little bit too much, and there's certain areas where you need to pull back a little bit. And so, again, this is a great opportunity, not necessarily to set goals, but to evaluate what goals are worth setting. Where in my life do I need to fight more? Where in my life do I need to fight less? Right? Because we're talking about preserving individual integrity, and sometimes fighting, just as a general rule of thumb, is doing the opposite of preserving the individual integrity. It's attempting to bolster a conditioning, or elevate a conditioning. Sometimes, not fighting and having an attunement and saying, "Oh, it's not the right time to fight," also could be a detriment to your integrity and your individualism, because sometimes you have to defend your way of being and your lifestyle from others, because others can see, oh, they're just gonna let me walk all over them. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Again, the detriment and the exaltation, neither of them is best or more desirable than the other. But when you put it in the context of your own life, that's when it typically can become clear in terms of, oh, okay, I have to, or I get to, take a step forward, or I'm unconsciously going to take a step back, right? I'm going to unconsciously fall back into my conditioning rather than consciously acknowledging, okay, these are the patterns that I'm recognizing, right? So that's line 1 of gate 38. That's the sun. Line 1 of gate 39 is disengagement. Coco, I'm grateful for today. Personally is 38.4 sun, 39.4 earth. Yeah, that's what's up. Nailed the distinction, Coco. Boom. I once heard 38, it's important to fight for something rather than against. That's a good point too. And that brings up this story about like a lion and a gazelle, right? Like the lion, they both run. The gazelle runs because the lion is chasing it and it doesn't want to be dinner. The lion runs because it has to get the gazelle so that it can provide for its family. So to Rachel's point here, to fight for something, to be able to provide for your family, is different than running for the sake of running away from something so that you don't end up being dinner, right? What do we have to say about the New Year's resolutions? Rainer says no New Year's resolutions. Soul Prospering says you're not going to after you watch the video from the other day. I know I got pretty intense with it. It was funny. 2024, defending my energy at all costs. Beautiful. I'm gonna make a video about like, hey, if you're this type, this is gonna be the ideal resolution that you ought to be setting for yourself. I'm really excited to make that video and to do this. And so let's go to the gate 39. Line 1 is disengagement. Exaltation is determination when confronted by obstacles to withdraw, but only temporarily. The energy to provoke by refusing to confront obstacles. Detriment is disengagement with an accompanying indecision as to when to re-engage. The refusal to confront obstacles without the capacity to know when to engage. The indecision is also a provocation. So again, with 39 and with the gate and the way these lines work, it's like it's always it's the same coin, just different sides of those coins, right? So here we're looking at someone who's either able to disengage with the ability to know, okay, after a month, I'm going to re-engage, in contrast with somebody who says, I'm going to disengage and I don't know when I'm going to re-engage. Understanding that both of those actions are opportunities for provoking. So for instance, this is actually perfect, and I hadn't read this, but my theory with how we combine January 1st and January 22nd or gate 41, like the economic widely accepted Matrix New Year and the human design New Year and nature's New Year, like nature and the Matrix sounded so similar in that phrasing for me. Anyway, how do we mix them together? We just use them as a buffer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, like I have been, I'm going to become aware of all the goals that I want to set. And I'm actually not going to use my own rules in the sense that I'm not going to make them sizable. I'm gonna like pick the 10-year big, I want a boat and all this crazy stuff. I'm gonna put it all on paper, brainstorm it, put it all out there, and just let myself dream super wild, right? Because what's gonna happen is I'm gonna use this line 1 to disengage from it and then re-engage with it on the 22nd. And so this is to clarify that a little bit more. I'm setting as many goals for myself as I can think of without limitation for this New Year's, for the January 1st New Year's. I'm doing that so that up until the 22nd, up until 41, I'm going to be waiting to see which of those goals I'm actually going to work on for this next cycle. And again, this is just the experiment that I'm doing. This is nothing that Ra has said. This is just my way of interpreting it and what I'm going to do. So, I was telling this to one of my brothers, and I use the phrasing, I want to take as many people along for the journey as I can. And he was like, what does that look like? Is that like a course or a challenge or something like that? And I said, no, it's just for the people that are aware of it, that want to do this with me. That's kind of what I want to do it for. You know, I'm not necessarily trying to, like, it's like I think of it like Forrest Gump. If anyone has seen that movie, when Forrest is running and people are like, he's starting a movement. He's like, dude, I'm just running. I don't know what else to do. That's kind of how I feel. And I'm just here running. So if you guys want to run with me, cool. Anyway, evaluating what is best for my life and those around me, and acting on it after this new moon on the 11th, waiting around the 22nd to fully engage. That's, yes, exactly. So, you know, again, what we're doing is we're not trying to fight what's here. We're not trying to fight the January 1st, although I do admittedly try to hook a lot of people by saying you're going to make a mistake by setting your resolution on the 1st, which is, it's not untrue. It's just there's a little bit more to it. But anyway, I like the process of writing my top 10 intentions, then picking the top 3. I have my 3 intentions for the year and my 7 avoid at all costs distractions. That's beautiful. Yes. Just this morning, I was talking to my therapist about how I should go about mediating conflict between my roommates and her boo. I feel pressure, like I want to help, but I know it's not my fight. The transit is speaking to my challenge directly. Aha. The 1-1 portal. Yes. So, onion, interesting. I'm like, well, can we talk about that? Because, right, like obstruction and opposition, like you might have energy this week to at least make something known in terms of the impact that it's having on you, and that the ability to, you know, because this is one thing, right, that projectors, I feel like, run into a lot, is like, how am I supposed to tell this person this thing that I see without them inviting me? And my answer is always, well, if it's having an impact on your health, then at that point, I think that is the invitation. Like, hey guys, my health is kind of being affected by some things, and I really would appreciate a conversation around that. You know, it's like, to me, preservation, the authority is meant to preserve the life of the individual and preserve the essence and the circuitry of the individual. And so, you know, if you're, how you say, like, if you're, you know, you're a mental projector, Onion. So this is like, hey, look, I just want to know, am I going to need to find a new place to live, because this energy right now is not really working for me? And that can be remedied if you guys want to invite some help. But if not, I'm just going to look for somewhere else to live, you know? And that's the thing, is it doesn't have to be, you know, what you're really initiating there is the, like, including everyone in the experiences of the impact. And hopefully that makes sense. I have a conflict with my boss at work, and it's either him or me at this point. He's been messing with me since October, and I'm done with the harassment. Either he goes or I go. Right. So, for instance, this current transit, there's going to be a big emphasis on this kind of energy. And so I would say the immediate response that you have, take note of that, but wait until we're through like the third or fourth day to really allow whatever step needs to be made or whatever ultimatum needs to be posed before you pose that ultimatum. Because especially on this first line, it's like first line is collect, investigate. Second line is to brew and conceptualize. Third line is to kind of like start to put it into play. And then the fourth line, right, is where you start to connect the others. So fifth line, sixth line, even in gate 39, is called the troubleshooter, which is the natural gift for solving problems. And so, in terms of these problems that are in your life, again, understand and recognize that they're here to, just like the root, just like the pressure, they're here to expand the container that is your vehicle and bring you into an awareness of your relationship with these energies, right? Because you shouldn't, I don't want to say you should, but do I mean you should? Yeah, like we should not, as human beings, need these transit activations in order to, how you say, uh, reanalyze, reassess, reevaluate, which is what the obstruction does. We shouldn't need the transit in order to preserve our individual integrity. Like the goal, in my view, is to have a working relationship with these transits, regardless of their activation, because they exist in the world and they exist in our body, whether defined or undefined. I say 38.6, where I have my earth keywords, misunderstanding. A lot of oppositions and many times conflict is based on misunderstandings, right? Yes. Which the solution for misunderstandings is to seek to unlearn what you understand and relearn. Right? I hear you, but the evidence has been collected, provided, and the truth is already out there. I'm at rest right now. Right. So it's like, so you're saying he's like already fried in terms of the harassment. Good. Maybe. I say good because sounds like, this is a time for, again, reevaluation and analysis. And so with this time, right, this in terms of like what it is going to be that replaces this, seems to me like this is the time to like kind of like light it all on fire, and whatever is left, you live forward with that. Which actually, that's Marcus Aurelius's quote. I've been saying that for a while. I didn't know it was him, but he says, imagine as if you have died, take whatever's left and live with that. Sometimes it doesn't matter. The misunderstanding still provokes a fight and it's too late. Well, that's also what 38 is for, right? The pressure is also here to advance things. And sometimes, like for instance, I do work with men quite a bit. And one of my go-to tools, because of how effective it is putting gloves on guys and just having them fight each other. Because so often, especially as men, we've been taught that violence is a bad thing and that it's shameful and it's wrong to be violent. However, violence is a part of our nature. Especially for like people that eat meat, but even people that eat vegetables, it's violence that like pulls the carrot out of the ground or pulls the apple off the tree. Less violent than killing an animal. However, violence is something that's a part of our being, and that's how I'm still shocked. Right. So been channeling them and doing friendly roasts. I love roasting my bros. I love fighting my bros because it's there's this saying that people say, that sounded dumb, but there's people go, oh man, I can't fight, bro. I'm not going to spar with you because when I spar, I just see red, and then people just start falling. They start dropping to the floor, and I'm like, I would knock you out in like 3 seconds, dude. It's not that you don't want to fight because you're afraid of hurting people. It's because you're afraid of fighting, or you're afraid of losing control. Which in that case, to me, your pacifism does not mean anything. The fact that you can't control the violence in you or command the violence in you, that makes you more dangerous. Like I'd rather have a super deadly warrior guys, a guy that has killed people and has a relationship with violence, I'd rather fight that guy than the dude who's never had a fight in his life, because he might turn into a rabid animal when he's backed into a corner. Whereas the guy that has actually experienced violence, there's a barometer, there's a level and awareness of him. And that's not like a general rule of thumb. But you can't be peaceful without being capable of great violence, right? Because it's not exactly a choice for you. It's oh, you're harmless. You're not peaceful. You're harmless. So anyway, the fighting and the pressure as a catalyst, it's similar to the tides, right? There's a push and a pull and a push and a pull. And so when we are, experiencing like these misunderstandings, really the question or the emphasis on the transit today is, do you fight? Do you not fight? Or do you fight as a rule of thumb, or are you attuned to the moment? Do you know when to step back? And is there a date to re-engage, or a time frame of the stepping back, or is it ambiguous? And also understanding that this is not meant to solve the confrontation or solve the fight. It's actually meant to how to say, elevate the stakes of the stakes of the fight, so that whatever the fight is revealing can actually be revealed. Why do you fight is a good question too. Maybe. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially with this individual circuitry is right. Like what things am I willing to fight for? How long will I not fight for this? Or how long will I fight for this? So say, I don't know where that quote is, but it wasn't for me. I heard it somewhere. Yeah, I heard this somewhere as well, but I remember just coming to the own conclusion in my own mind, like long time ago when I would train in Kenpo. I was maybe like 10 or 11, and it became very clear to me in school that there were a lot of kids that couldn't fight and didn't want to fight, and then there were kids that wanted to seem tough but didn't actually want to fight. And I remember, because I almost got in a fight with one of these fuckers, and they wouldn't fight me, and they're like, I'll kick your ass so, and we were kids too, so it seemed like really intense. Like, I'll kick your ass so hard. I'm like, okay, let's go. And I took up a fighting stance, and the guy's like, haha, and he started laughing at me, and then he just walked away, and I'm like, all right, bud, guess you don't want to fight. And at that time, I was already fighting dudes like twice my size, not necessarily winning, but I was fighting dudes. So I was like, okay, I know that I can defend myself. So if this guy wants to come at me, he can come at me. Then there was another time in soccer, same fucking guy. She tried to, what do you say? Like push me out of the way. And I just fucking backstepped him, and he flipped over me. It was hilarious. But anyway, what if you get an invitation, but it's the wrong invitation? You just tell them it's the wrong invitation. Can I turn it into the invitation I need, or do I just decline the initial invite? Great question. I would say get the invitation you need. It's like, hey, look, I don't want to do that. I'd be open to doing this, but I'm not doing that. That's what I would say. Part of the process, learning, discernment, same fucking guy. Onion, one thing I would want to say about that is, are you getting the invitation from the right person? That would be my question. Kids are the fiercest fighters, right? And it's like, but what we do when kids are fighting, we're like, oh, break it up. This is a bad thing. You don't fight each other, blah, blah, blah. Rather than like, oh, hey, what's this about? Help them get clear. And this is, if I was a principal of a school, they'd probably fucking cancel me. But here's what I would do. If any kids were fighting, I would say, all right, kids, come over here. Why do you want to fight him? Oh, because he pushed me down and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, why do you want to fight him? Oh, well, the reason I pushed him down is because he was saying stuff about my mom. I say, okay, well, this is what you're fighting for. Put these gloves on. Put the mouthpieces in. All right, 2 rounds, go. Right? That's what I would do. Are you sure I'm not? Are you sure you're not, Jenna? I'm a millennial, pretty sure. but I would let them fight, because, and then I would, after the fight, I would pause them and say, how do you feel? And I've done this with grown men, and we've moved some stuff that it doesn't it doesn't move unless you get punched in the face, or you feel threatened, or your adrenaline is up. Some things don't move unless that energy is there. So anyway, fuck around and find out from age 0. Exactly. I'm also a 3-5, so my school would be very experimental. That's not the only way, although I think that it's been one of the ways that control has been imposed upon us from a very young age, is by removing our violence, by making us harmless, taking away our connection to violence. And so I recommend everyone, one of the New Year's resolutions, just in general for people, I would say, is take up a martial arts this year. Let this be the year where you become a weapon in a good way, not only for the experience of it and the ability to work through emotions, but also for like actual practicality. It's like there's mothers here, there's fathers here, and when it comes time to defend your children, if that time ever comes, when that time comes, you'll be grateful for the training. And it's funny, actually, my partner asked me to start training her in eskrima, which is my Filipino martial arts. I've been doing it since I was like 12 or 13 years old. And it's amazing. It's still there. It's like riding a bike, and I haven't necessarily trained that in a while, at least with my teachers. But yeah, so that's one of the, I would say, in terms of, and maybe that's just gate 38 and 39 talking, everyone go become martial artists. I moved, but I need to look around for another place. A really population now, no complaints though. Yeah, qigong is good. So, and this interesting too is like there's like soft style martial arts like tai chi and qigong. Then there's harder styles like boxing or Muay Thai. Something that's kind of like in the middle. That I think if you don't, and you definitely, I'm not saying one is better than the other. What I'm just saying is that one thing that I've seen be very stimulating and approachable is like jiu-jitsu or Brazilian jiu-jitsu, in the sense that, it's a lot of technique. It's a lot of using leverage and understanding the body. With that being said, I also highly recommend Tai Chi and Qigong. Personally, I'm a Kempo guy, or a Filipino martial arts guy. So eskrima is my personal practice. Although I have been trained in like Chinese street style kung fu, basically called Kenpo. But again, really, it's just fine. Like maybe look for a martial arts studio, and get deadly. Like get deadly. It's worth it. It's so important to feel deadly as well, because again, another thing about human design that I've been experimenting with or studying is like, how do all these gates manifest into movements, physical movements? Like I found out 34 is the glute activation that stands us up. I mean, there's other muscles, but it's primarily the glutes, right? That stand us up. That's gate 34. Gate 34 is literally your ass, right? And so that's just the beginning of like a really long study. But basically what I'm saying is, it's so important to me that this this human design stuff doesn't stay up in the head, but that it actually finds a way to descend into the body. And so that's all I'm saying here. Self-defense, I know how to choke someone and avoid the fight and be safe. Peaceful Ninja. Yes. Peaceful Ninja. Yeah, I live pretty much in peace, and I also punch dudes and get punched in the face. Part of my brotherhood is we punch each other in the face, and we get punched. And it's also too, because it's not like when my dudes punch me in the face, I'm like, oh, ha ha ha, I love you, bro. It's like, oh, I'm gonna fucking kill you, and then I have to regulate that and be like, okay, you're not gonna kill him. He's your friend. You're training. Plus, you let your guard down, right? So it's like, or you moved into it. And so there's a element of honesty that I have to have with myself when I'm engaged in the fight, in order to stay in the fight. Because if I let my ego take over, oh, I'm gonna kill him, like I didn't do anything wrong, there's nothing wrong with me, I'm perfect, he just got a cheap shot in, he got lucky, I already lost the fight. So anyway, What's going on? I have 34 and explains so much. Yep, I have 34 as well. Strong glutes. I don't have gate 34, therefore I don't have an ass. So you do have an ass, but perhaps your ass belongs to other people. Consider that. But it doesn't have to. You can reclaim your ass by training your ass, by physically training your ass, right? It's not consistent ass, exactly. Rachel, Onion, sometimes your ass belongs to you, sometimes it belongs to other people. So the more you train your ass, then the more often your ass, you'll know whether or not your ass is belonging to someone else or it belongs to you, right? Because if you have a connection, if you can, like, I can like fire my right glute, fire my left glute. I can do that. You know, I can wiggle my big left toe, I can wiggle my big right toe. So the somatic awareness of the body has to transfer over up into the mental and emotional realms. And so that's why training is so important. That's why I have the archive available on my website and in my links, is because, you know, when I started learning about biomechanics, which is just the mechanics of living beings and specifically human beings, in their relationship to gravity and forward momentum, all the different trains of anatomy in the body. When I started learning that, I knew immediately, like, this is a key, because this isn't like yoga or CrossFit or this is like walking, running, and throwing. And yoga is like the next most natural thing, one of the next most natural things, along with dance. But walking, running, and throwing are the fucking things. Like, if and our ancestors, if you couldn't walk, if you were born with a messed up leg or anything, they would actually just leave you out to die, because it would be cruel to like bring you into a world in a way where if you didn't walk, run, and throw, you'd suffer or you'd be outcasted and things like that. So anyway, this is going to be an exciting year, guys. I'm really happy to be able to cruise on here with you guys. Especially, I feel guilty about being away and still trying to figure out my schedule, because naturally I'm on like my porch now, and like my baby is right there. And so but come January 22nd, I'm hopefully going to have, if I continue to follow my own advice, I'll have some more ways to engage with you guys and more ways for you guys to engage with me regarding some more intentional seasons here with Reiki Marco, with Eevolve, with Human Design, with yourself. Hopefully music as well, some more music gonna be putting out there as well. But yeah, I'm really appreciative of you guys and gals, and especially Soul Prospering. She mentioned that she was wanting some TN transits in her life, and it inspired me. I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely, of course. This is I love doing this too. It's not like this is a challenge for me to do, guys. The biggest challenge is finding time to do it, because now with like living so much closer or working so much closer to home, it's been I'm just spending more time with the family, which is great, and I love it. And there's also, I'm aware of like parts of myself that I want to continue to be of service and continue to fulfill my purpose, because as much as I am a family man, I'm still also a man, and it's really important to me that I'm out here on purpose. So y'all have been fundamental and a real pleasure as well this year, because we started this Discord this year, and we're at over like, I think 1,700 members, and I've stopped like pushing it as much. But anyway, it's just like it's gonna grow some more in 2024, and hopefully in ways where you know, the things you love about the server can become even more amplified. It's good, because my phone was blowing up. Right? Yeah. So, like I said, hopefully in ways that you love the server, things can be amplified. Huge shout out to my moderators, especially the ones here right now in the chat, Ronan and Ori. Thank you guys. You guys have been there since the beginning. Prana, Chris, Life Force, Luke, Shaolin Luke, You guys have just been so supportive. And then thank you as well to all of the members, Bagel, Soul Prospering, Genergy, Dragon, Jude's. Thank you guys so much for just contributing. Plant Mama, I think Tiana, are you a member? But anyway, we have subscriptions for this server, and you know, it just literally is like a thank you to subscribe. You know, we give you your own channel and your own body graph gallery, and there's a little bit. I have a lot more awareness of the energy in there, and so. But anyway, I just want to say thank you to the subscribers. We appreciate your contributions and your support. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I got for you guys. Appreciate you, love you. Maybe we see you tomorrow for the brand new year. And if anyone decides to sign up for a martial arts, you know, to start training martial arts, let us know, because that's going to be awesome. And I will see you guys in 2024. Our buffer period of 21 days, which funny enough is the amount of time that Usui Sensei, my Reiki master, he spent 21 days on a mountain fasting before he was given Reiki as a gift and as a healing practice to then disseminate into the world. And so it's going to be a good one. See you guys on the road. Peace.